back in Vietnam. I remember my first time photographing in Vietnam. I was just outside of Hanoi, and I met these kids that took me back to their families and showed me off like I was something they'd never seen before. And I managed to capture this awesome family photo of the entire family. They don't speak English, I don't speak Vietnamese. Stay tuned to hear the crazy story about how it came together. I'm Kendricks, photographer and owner of freedomofphotography.com. It's the website that I've created to showcase my travel photographs and stories. I also work with NGOs and nonprofits, but you can check out the website freedomofphotography.com, link in the description so you can see all about my travels. Going to Hanoi, why did I decide to go to Hanoi? Well, I was living in Bangkok at the time, and Bangkok is like a less than an hour flight to Vietnam, to Hanoi, which is the capital of Vietnam, and I had some time off, so I figured I would just come to Vietnam and see how beautiful the country was and experience it. It was like a $50 flight, so why not, right? Let's go to Hanoi, do some photographing. So when I arrived in Hanoi, I did not have a visa. You can get the VOA, the visa on arrival, at the airport in Hanoi. It's only $45. Well, it was $45 at the time. So that was one of the main reasons I decided to come to Vietnam. And it's close from Thailand. Thailand has a lot of holidays, so I figured I could come to Vietnam for about a week and just hang out in Hanoi and kind of get to know the country a little bit. So the hotel where I was staying, I was talking to the front desk lady about, I'm a photographer, I want to go and see different parts of the city and kind of photograph and get a feel of Hanoi and Vietnam. So she contacted one of her friends who was a driver who picked me up and took me out to the countryside or the outer city limits just outside of Hanoi. And I was just walking around the village, taking photos. Sometimes I got crazy looks, sometimes I got smiles, thumbs up. So after about 30 minutes of walking around photographing this village, I see these kids running towards me and they're yelling and screaming and laughing and having fun. So that's how I got this photograph. This is them originally running towards me and coming to see, hey, what's going on? Who is this guy? So right there, we have an impromptu photo session. I'm photographing them. I don't speak Vietnamese, they don't speak English. We're posing, we're having fun, and after a while, they just grab my hand and they take me back to their family, right? So they drag me back to their house. We're in their yard with the families. I come through the gate, they're looking at me like, what the hell is going on? The kids are all excited, making noise and screaming and jumping around, and I see the uncles, I guess they're uncles, in the yard fixing motorbikes and working on the vehicles and stuff. And the mother looks at me like, what? Who are you? What's going on? Which was, of course, an understandable reaction because I'm just some weird black guy with dreads who just popped up in her yard with her kids, right? So, of course, she should be concerned. But she was the nicest woman ever. They invited me in. They gave me water and bananas and let me photograph them all I want to, right? So these are some of the photographs that I made during my time in the yard with these kids and at their house. So they show me around to their, I guess they're their mother or their sisters or their aunts. I got the feeling that they're all family. So after a while, I kind of motioned for the family to get together, like, hey, all of you all get together and let's just do a family photo. They kind of understood what I was saying. I didn't have to do a lot of convincing, so I believe they wanted to do it too. So we finish, we say our goodbyes, and I just leave. I got some good photos, I had a good interaction with the family, I had a good time, they had a good time. I thought that was it until later on that day, I met this lady at a restaurant and I was telling her about my experience. I'm like, hey, I just had a crazy time at these people's houses. Some random Vietnamese kids drug me back to their house and showed me off to their family, and I took some photos, right? And I was showing her the photos. And she gave me the bright idea to, hey, you should get that printed out and take it to them. And I had never thought about that. So the lady was telling me that I should get this family portrait framed, printed out and framed, and give it back to them. So I'm thinking, hey, that's a pretty good idea. Like that's a good idea that I think would be cool to do. So we went to the Fujifilm store, Photoshop, not far from the restaurant where we were, and I got the main family portrait framed. I picked out a nice frame and got the biggest size that they offered. And I also got some smaller 5x7s of just me interacting with the kids and just some personal close-up photos, some smaller photos, then I got the bigger frame of the family. So talking with the lady that I met, she was telling me that, hey, it would be cool if I could come back with you. So I told her like, hey, yeah, it's no problem. Come on back. You can come with me, go to the family, and we could drop these pictures off to them and see how they like them and see their reaction. So I go back to the front desk, tell the lady, hey, I need to go back to the same village where I was a couple days ago, and I want to go back and see the same family. So we go back out there, me and the lady from the Netherlands, we go back out there, and I find the family's house, and I just show them just the 5x7s. Like, hey, they're all happy to see me. They're like, oh, you came back. Like, yeah, I came back. And I had the 5x7s. It may have been 15 or 20 5x7s in the book. And they're looking through the book, and they're like, wow, this is crazy. They look good. They didn't say this, but that was their reaction. They were speaking Vietnamese. I wasn't understanding what they were saying, but I know what they felt, and I know what they meant. And that's something that you develop after traveling for some time. So they was happy with the 5x7s. If I'd have just gave them the 5x7s and left, then that would have been the best time for them. But after they looked through those, I pulled out the frame, the big family portrait frame, and they completely lost their minds. They were extremely happy to receive. I haven't seen anyone in my travels so happy to receive something that I gave them. And they took it in the house. There was this baby photo in the family area that they took down the baby photo and put my photo up. So they were very nice and hospitable while I was there. They gave us the water and showed us around. And so now they're like, hey, we gotta do some entertainment for them. So they broke out a keyboard, right? So they went in the closet, got a keyboard and a microphone. And again, I don't know what they were saying, what they meant. I'm sure it was some upbeat, happy song, but they were playing the piano, the little keyboard, and they were singing on the microphone and trying to entertain me and the lady from the Netherlands. So we stayed there for a while, took some more photos, showed us around the yard and the house to meet the family. So during all of this commotion, people in the village started hearing things, and they came over looking, and they saw all what we were doing, and one of the ladies was like, hey, come back to my house, right? So now me and the Dutch lady go back to this other neighbor's house, and we're just, it's like they're showing us off, right? So we just go in the house, and it's her and I guess her father, they're watching TVs, and we just sit there. We're just looking at each other. Me, the neighbor, the Dutch lady, and her father. We're just sitting there looking at each other. So she goes to the altar, the little shrine. If you've been in Asian cultures, you know they have a little shrine altar in their house that they have. They make offerings for Buddha with the fruit and all of that stuff and whiskey and things like that. So she go and give me the Buddha bananas. She gave us the bananas out of the offering, and we start eating the bananas. So I have a couple, and she's like, more, and she was very forceful. So I'm shoving bananas down. I ate probably 3 of them, so I couldn't eat anymore. We finally left there, go to another neighbor's house. So we're going from neighbor's house, and they're just showing us off as if we're some prize to see or something like that. So we finally do that. The whole thing probably took about an hour. So after we said our goodbyes, and I would go back to the original house, and we speak with the family. They gave us some bean sprouts, just a big bag of bean sprouts, I guess as a thank you or to show their hospitality or their generosity, which was wonderful. I put them on a salad later that night, ate it for dinner. It was fine. We said our goodbyes, drive back to Hanoi, and I couldn't believe the whole experience that I had just had with this family. I didn't speak any Vietnamese. They don't speak any English. And we still made a connection, and we still had a good time, and we still made the best of it. And even though we did not know any type of each other's languages, which brings me to really the conclusion of the whole video of what I want to say about just some things to keep in mind to help you have a more in-depth experience during your travels, even though you may not be able to communicate with the people as effectively as you should. So, some things you may be worried about to stop you from having a classic, wonderful interaction like this is traveling alone. I know for some women, they may have some concerns. I can't speak about women traveling alone. I've met women that travel alone. They've loved it. I've met women that travel alone and they've hated it. I guess you just have to make a decision for yourself, and I think it's going to be more beneficial than dangerous for a man or a woman traveling alone. I don't think you should let that stop you. You definitely shouldn't, just because you can't have anybody there, or you worried about safety or protection, Vietnam is nowhere near as dangerous as people say it is. America is far more dangerous than Vietnam, I think, as far as people just giving you a hard time. Nobody's gonna randomly attack you or say, hey, there's a foreigner, let's beat him up, or some goofy like that. That's just stupid. So don't worry about traveling alone. It's best to travel alone sometimes because it makes you more flexible to take advantage of more opportunities that may not be available to if someone was in a group or traveling with someone. Something else to keep in mind about the language. Don't worry about not speaking the language. Universally, people are inherently good. They're inherently kind. Just because you don't speak the same language doesn't mean that you cannot still have the most of the experience that you are in a foreign land. So it would help if you did learn a few words, maybe learn to count to 10. The things that I do when I go somewhere, I try to learn to count to 10. Yes, no, please, thank you. If you know how to say those things in whatever language of the country that you're visiting, it would be very beneficial if you would learn just some simple phrases in another language that you're visiting. Because you're coming to these people's country. You can't expect them to speak English and get mad when they don't. And you don't want to miss out on the wonderful experience and opportunity because you don't know any of the language, okay? So you can learn some simple things like 1 through 10, learn to count to 10. Yes, no, please, thank you. That will make things a lot smoother. But even if you don't know that, still go out and explore. Still go out and try to make the most of the day of your time in a foreign land because so many good things can happen that the language wouldn't have anything to do with it. It will not affect how you have a good time. If you're generally a good person and you're dealing with good people, you're gonna have a good time. And sometimes understanding the language can be a hindrance. I think if we just knew each other's vibes and energies and intentions, I think that would be better than spending your time in a hotel room because you're scared to go out because you don't know if you can talk to anybody. So I definitely would not let that hold me back. Another point to think about is not to be so closed off when you travel. I used to be like that when I first started traveling. I wasn't really into talking to people, which sounds crazy. I just wanted to like stay by myself and go do what I came to this country to do. But you need to talk to people and tell them what you're doing. If I hadn't talked to the Dutch lady that I met at the restaurant about what I did before, I wouldn't have gotten the idea to get the pictures framed and take it back to them, which I wouldn't have provided that family with the wonderful family portrait of themselves, and I would have robbed myself of that experience of being in a foreign land and connecting with a family, even though you really can't communicate. So talk to people, let them know what you did. They may give you ideas on how to make it better, some things that you never thought of. So the main thing you want to realize and keep in mind is to just be flexible. Overall, you don't want to travel and stick to a certain itinerary and be so focused and glued in on what you're doing that you're not open to other random things or paths that you may go to make your experience more worthwhile. So if you meet somebody and they say, hey, let's go do this, go and do that. If you meet a taxi driver or front desk staff at the hotel or a bartender or someone that you feel has good intentions and they say, hey, go here, you can come and meet my family, I have a good idea for you to do this, be open to it. And just don't be too locked into your plans to where you're not flexible enough to open yourself to a new experience because you have to stick to the plan, you have to stick to the itinerary. Don't do that. Don't do that, that's lame, don't be lame, be flexible. You can have a general idea and kind of have a framework of what you want to do, but don't have every step locked in like you don't have any time for any spontaneity or for any type of change of plans that will add value to your trip. So those are the things that I think will help you have a better experience traveling. So these are my stories and my experience in my first time in Vietnam. I just wanted to share with you how I made these awesome photographs of this family and these kids and provided them with something that I think will be a treasure for them for years to come. And I hope that the tips that I've given you will help you start on your journey to traveling. You may be an experienced traveler, you may be new to traveling, but I think if you keep these tips in mind, then you will have a positive experience in any country, not just Asia, Latin America, Africa, Europe. If you keep these basic things in mind, I think it will allow you to make the most of your trip and your travel journeys and in total make you a better person. So again, like, subscribe, share the video to anyone that you think likes to travel, is looking to travel, scared to travel, doesn't know how to start traveling. This is what this channel is for, and this is what I am for. I've been to over 40 plus countries. I've photographed all over this planet, and I just want to share some of my experiences with you guys. So if you found it helpful, like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace. Also, this shirt, check out the shirt. This is from Vietnam. This is one of the photos that I've actually taken while I was in that village in Hanoi. So if you like the shirt that I'm wearing, then you can check out my merch page on my website, freedomophotography.com/support, and you can see all of the merchandise that I have. If you're interested in just getting you a shirt, a cooler Vietnamese shirt from Hanoi, travel shirt, you can help support the channel, you can help support my travels. So thanks, peace. Bye-bye.